Welcome to Romera Records podcast. Today we have on Ben Brown. How's it going, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. So I believe Rachel just hold on. Actually, were you on the 30 for 30? 30 under 30?
No, but Prince and James, the gentleman that I work for, he was.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's crazy.
I'm not sure if you know of him,
No, I
gentleman
don't.
with locks. He is into film and TV production.
Okay.
But yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah.
Yeah, we recently started reaching out to people who were on that list.
Really
And so I let my wife schedule all the podcasts.
nice.
So I didn't know if you were on the list or not, but that is kind of funny that
It is. It is.
very wild. So you do photography? Do you do videography as
Yeah,
well?
I'm
or-
getting more into videography.
Okay.
Now, of course, the learning curve for videography is a bit more steep.
Mhm.
So it's taking a little bit more time. But yeah, I'm getting more into it and starting piece by piece. Right now, I'm focusing a lot on audio.
Mhm.
I've understood and learned a lot of things about capturing video. In addition to that, it's just the editing piece that's the largest roadblock for me. So I think that's been one reason how difficult it is, and also how time consuming it is. The
Mhm.
editing process I'm referring to.
Yeah.
I think that's been one of the main reasons why I haven't gone fully into it. So,
Oh, okay.
but yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, a lot of people, that's to me, it all seems like one thing because I have like when I started doing photos for
hmm
people, I was just like, oh, I might as well just do videos as well.
right.
But that's just who I am. Like I'm
hmm
naturally, I like to just do stuff.
Uh,
Some people just like one track mind. Like I rap and I also do I audio engineer. Like
mm,
I make beats. I do it all.
nice, nice.
And then same with I do photos and videos. So
hmm
I'm not great, like the best at any of that, but I'm pretty good at
Yeah,
all of it.
right,
So
right.
that's just who I've always been. I don't stick with one thing and master it. I just kind of
Yeah.
migrate. So I guess you just got attracted to photography and
hmm
just decided that's my thing.
Yeah, it's actually a very peculiar story. And I find myself, I relate to you a lot with respect to not mastering one thing, but just kind of finding pockets of interest in a lot of different areas. Um, and I think that's a nice way to prelude or preclude. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but my story with starting in photography. I was currently I was in at the University of Memphis studying to get my bachelor's, got it in mathematics, and I was in a very difficult class. I remember the bead of sweat that dripped down my forehead as as I tried to do a math problem, and the noise and the chatter of the students behind me that I automatically internalized as them talking about me, even though I was just in my head, and I was just so stressed about how difficult it was, and fearful of not passing. So
Mm.
I said, "Hey, I have to find a way out." And that same week, my roommate at the time, my best friend, Jonathan Gales, he also went to the U of M with me. He went to a pawn shop. He picked up a DLSR, a Canon T3i, I believe, from a pawn shop for a little bit less than hundred bucks.
Dang.
And from there, that's what it started
Yeah,
with.
yeah,
And I just began to go for it, and I
yeah.
enjoyed it and found a passion, and there was a lot to learn, and I loved learning, so I went for it.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like it's so wild to me how like a hobby can be something that you can make money with for forever.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
and I always said like if I if I could have been like just amazing at any sport, it'd be golf because you
Yes,
can
of
play that
course.
to your freaking 60 or 70.
Exactly, and make a bunch of money while doing it.
Exactly. So that's same for photography. Like, you some great photographers are
Mhm.
up there in age and that it can be as difficult as you want it to be,
Yeah,
but it's also as simple as holding a camera and pressing a button.
yeah,
But it's the amount of skill that you can develop quickly is also the benefit of photography. Like
yeah.
in developing,
Right.
with football, you're not gonna just never work out and never do any kind of like athletic wise and then be
Expect
like,
to be.
nah, I'll be in the NFL next year. Like it's not
Yeah.
going to happen.
Right, no.
But if you do like just study photography and study different things of lighting and
Mhm.
and working on angles and stuff like that, like you could be a professional photographer in no time.
Right,
But it
right.
just takes some getting used to it and
Yeah.
and studying. So you doing mathematics is pretty wild. First off, let's go back to that.
Yeah.
What were you planning on doing?
So I knew that I wanted to go to college after graduating high school. I was pretty decent in school. I wouldn't say it was easy, but I was desperate and destined to succeed.
Mhm.
And that interest in succeeding may be it may come from many different areas, maybe social issues at the time. Who knows? I don't remember, but I was wanting to go forward with it.
Mhm.
And I initially thought to go for business, but my mom had recognized that I was great with math. So she said, "Hey, you should go for this. It's rare, and since you have this skill set, I think you can go pretty far if you want to." So I went for it. And first year on campus, I worked really hard. I got a 4.0, and I was just destined to be great. And I just continued the process. So, and ultimately, it was the same way as I progressed towards my master's. So I got my bachelor's in mathematics, and I was in that senior year and thinking about how difficult the class was, and ultimately I passed it. And I, at the time, I knew that math was great, but it wasn't specific and it wasn't unique enough to find a position I think that would be my own. That
Yeah,
would be
yeah.
for me. I mean, because of course, if I know math, that's great, but um, there's no one. I don't think there is one person that's going to want to hire just someone to do math problems all day. So I need to find a specific area of interest to make me more marketable.
Mhm.
So I went forward and I got my master's in statistics because I knew that if I have a master's degree, I'd be much more marketable. But it was all just a process of knowing that I wanted to continue. I wanted to be marketable and make myself pretty successful in life, and I had been told that education was the way. So,
So, as far as being like a statistician, like what is, I don't know, like the holy grail like job that you plan on doing?
um,
Or is
that
there one? I don't know.
so I don't like statistics anymore,
Okay.
and
Just like most people in
yeah,
college, they just veer off from their major.
yeah, and it's crazy. I mean, I got two whole degrees, but I don't want to use it. Not
Okay.
only because it is very difficult, and um, especially after you graduate and you're not consistently in the field. Um, Practicing the stuff that you've learned, it just begins to disperse and disappear in your head. So one reason I don't plan to go forward with statistics is because I forgot a lot and I don't
Mm,
feel confident in my ability to continue to do it.
okay.
But not only that, it's just corporate America and the corporate world can be a bit rough, and it's not the best place for those that are more empathetic and also it can be based on the position that you find yourself in. It can stifle a lot of growth. So
Mm,
I don't plan to continue to grow for a degree or a career in statistics, but more so just find a lane within the arts. So
okay.
if that answers your question, I hope I did.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the ability for people to like actually hone in on like a specific job for
Yeah.
some reasons like impossible. Like
Yeah.
most people, they're like, well, I want to, be a teacher. Like,
Hmm.
cool. What kind of teacher?
Yeah.
And like, what school? What
Yeah.
state? What
Right.
city?
Yeah.
Like,
What age group?
yeah,
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
age?
So
Like,
many different
all
factors.
there are so many different jobs that you
Hmm.
could literally focus in on.
Hmm.
And like one of my best friends, John, he was telling me this. Like, he said that he was talking to like his granddad. His granddad worked for, I think it was like NASA or
Okay.
something.
Nice.
And he was explaining to him that because John said he wanted to like, I think he said he just wanted to be an engineer. And
Gotcha.
but his granddad was like, well, what job do you want? Like,
Mm.
what is the specific job? Like, who do you want to work for? Like, if you, let's say you want to work for NASA, like
Mhm.
what division of NASA? What
Yeah.
exactly position do you want to be in?
Right.
And that is how you can shape like what you do. Because you
Yeah.
could literally be wasting your life
Yeah.
trying to get a job or a career field
Right.
when you could know exactly the position
And go for it.
and go for it. Talk to the right people, be in the right places, and it saves you literally your life, like
Yeah. Exactly.
time in your life. So that's why I was curious. I'm like, what
Yeah.
even when I hear people are like math majors, I'm like,
Hmm.
what is that? Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do with that? So
Right.
it's pretty wild that it's something that everybody uses,
Hmm.
but nobody knows really how you would use it as
Exactly.
like a field of study. So I
Right,
don't know.
right. And I'm very grateful for it. It taught me a lot of resilience, and it also gave me a logical mind to process things in a very rational way.
Mm.
And I if I have a problem, I know that if I use repetition and consistency to learn techniques to solve that problem, and and although there may be many solutions, if I find a way to troubleshoot and go down one path, I can get to a solution. And it's just so many different aspects of life that I learned through the process of solving math problems. And I'm really grateful for it, honestly, even though I don't plan to use the degree. But yeah, I'm really grateful for it. It gave me a mindset that I find invaluable. So.
So when you figured out you weren't doing things that revolved around math specifically,
Mhm,
and you got involved with photography, and
mhm,
what what were you planning on doing? Did you
right.
just like, well, let me just take it slow, or you like, no, let me hit this hardcore? Like, what was your thoughts?
So my process with pursuing photography and now videography and some small scale, um, it was in tandem with my pursuits for a job and a career. So um, I started photography about three and a half years ago, and I was in my bachelor's at the time. I proceeded to get my master's, so there was 2 additional years of me practicing photography and also learning statistics. And also, in the same breath, I was working for this company at the University of Memphis called the University of Memphis Research Foundation,
Okay.
for short, UMRF Ventures. And we focus on creating business solutions for companies in the area through technology. So that gave me a nice introduction to information technology, how to analyze data and process data and use it for ways to improve our processes in general. And I think that was the starting point for a career within information security. So although I didn't really have a focus or desire to go more into statistics, I was relieved that I could find a haven within information security. So after graduating with my master's, I got a job at FedEx working for the standards team. Wasn't as technical, but it was very informative, and I learned a lot. But there was a contract position, so I stopped working that job, and I began to work for another company as an e-discovery consultant, based on the skills that I learned through the previous position, and mainly working with legal clients and processing digital documents that are used for these cases that these illegal clients and actuaries and lawyers would use. Um, but yeah, at the same time, doing all this stuff, working in these careers, I was continuing to take pictures because I enjoyed it. It was a hobby, and it just began to scale. And in the process of this hobby, I found resources and networks that I enjoyed that allowed me to learn more about the industry. And then suddenly, when I didn't find an interest in working in the position that I was in, and I stopped, I just decided to go full force into photography and to film and TV production. So
That's pretty cool.
yeah,
Like, I really enjoy people who are willing to just do different things. Like, some people feel like, this is my thing. This is the only thing I want to do. But it's just not me. It's not for me. Like, as I said, I do so much. I do so many different things that I'm never bored because
yeah,
I've got so much that I can do. And I always look at it like this: like, you got one life,
yeah,
just enjoy it the best you can, because it's not like it's not like you're saving your time. Like, oh, let me just do this, and
yeah,
when I die, when I come back, I'm
hmm
gonna do this other thing. It's like
yeah, no,
it's not a thing. So you
yeah,
might as well just do all you can
yeah,
while you have the chance, especially
exactly,
while you're young. Like,
right,
I'm 29 and I feel like I'm 18, because there's still so much that
to
I feel like
learn,
to learn, to figure out. I was doing a podcast with a professor at I forgot what school he teaches at, but um, we were talking about, like, there's like some formula they say that as you get older, your creativity starts to round off and it starts to go down.
mm,
And I was asking him, like, do you agree with that? And he was like, yeah, I think so. He said that it seems like young people have the energy to be wrong. And I was like,
mm,
that's pretty good. Like, I never really thought about that, because, when you're young, if you're wrong, it's okay. But when you're old, you don't even have time to be wrong.
Right.
It's like you're not. It's like you're too you're too invested in the rest of your life that you're like I want to just be do what I know. And I
Yeah.
was like,
Do what's safe and
yeah.
what's secure. Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, the ability for people to have that time to just experiment and do dumb stuff. Like that's another thing. Like when you're older, everybody looks at you like, why are you doing dumb things?
Yeah.
But when you're younger, you're expected to do dumb things
Yeah.
because you don't know any better.
Yeah.
Like you haven't had a chance to experience life. Like
Yeah.
the world is so many years old that you're only, if you're 20,
Mhm.
that's nothing compared to how long the earth has been around.
Right.
So you haven't collected enough knowledge or
Yeah.
wisdom. So to be able to experiment and just do different things
Yeah.
it's so beneficial.
Yeah.
So for you, like you've started this photography
Mhm.
and you're starting learning. What did you do to learn? Like
Gotcha.
what were you doing?
Well, I definitely want to say that learning is the key, and knowing how to learn is the most important part. And that's why I was impressed with you when we first began to communicate, and you told me that your interest in podcasting was initiated because you wanted to learn. And I think that was my saving grace for when I decided to stop studying statistics and going into information security and just begin to go more into photography, knowing that I had learned how to learn through school and through this degree, um, and realizing that, I mean, similar to what you said, when you're young, you have room to mess up, and the failures that come from messing up are pivotal towards the growth that comes from it.
Yeah.
And without that failure, I wouldn't be here today. Um, and I think just recognizing that, for one, I wasn't happy in that position, and two, I know how to learn, and if I push myself forward, I can do anything that I want to if I apply consistency and repetition. And that just was this the spark that allowed me to progress forward. And I think just learning how to learn and knowing that learning is filled with failure, but the fear of failure is the issue. But if you overcome that fear and you continue to learn despite your failures, I mean, you'll end up in a better place regardless. And I think when your question was about learning, just realizing that if you do something consistently and you do it over and over again and you practice and you're diligent with it, regardless of where you started, you're going to be better off tomorrow.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Do you do any kind of like, are you more of a visual learner or you like to just read a book? How do you like to figure things out?
I'm not quite sure the type of learner I am, but I think I try to combine all of them.
Mhm.
Because we have five senses. We have our eyes, our nose for smell, we have our taste, our ears, and our hands. And if we combine them all as much as possible, it does a magical thing in our brain that, of course, we can't understand, but allows us to retain information and things more. Um, and I've even tested it out with staying in shape.
Mhm.
Um, I know throughout college, I did a lot of running, but
Mhm.
then after a point, I wanted to gain some weight, so I began to lift weights. But I'm not sure if I lifted improperly or what, but I began to have back irritation.
Mm.
But I still wanted to be in shape, and I knew that if I ran consistently, there would also create problems for my joints. So I was just trying to find a way to still be active and do it in a way that keeps me motivated, which was the major roadblock with me starting an exercise program and stopping, not being motivated. And so I tested it out. I decided to learn how to play basketball. I think this was sparked by a long history of not being chosen on the basketball court and being on the bench and being embarrassed by not being able to perform the way that I want to.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, let me learn how to play basketball. So I started with one ball. I began to dribble around the block with the right hand, and then the next day with the left hand, and the next day with two hands, and then the next day around the back, through the legs, and all this other stuff. And me testing out this idea of doing something consistently and doing it in a repetitious manner, it allowed me to get better. So yeah, I think that answered your question about how I learn, and yeah, so I think so.
You just explained how to dribble in the nerdiest way possible, but that is like that's how like a grown up kid would explain how their coach taught them how to play ball.
Yeah.
And it's always I've always been fascinated at comparing how kids learn compared to how adults learn.
Mm.
And I feel like kids are just like these mini scientists. Like
Mm.
they're just walking, talking nuclear scientists ready to just cause destruction.
Right.
And they don't mind. Like as again, like they've got room to be wrong,
Right.
and they're completely fine with doing dumb stuff and finding out like, oh, that wasn't the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I get in trouble if I do that thing.
Yeah.
So like for kids, like for them to learn how to dribble and stuff like that, like their body's getting used to motor functions and all these things. And when adults, like we already know how that works, but we still have to like learn it. Like
Yeah.
I know nothing about figure skating.
Right.
But if I went to go do it, I'd be like, all right, I know this blade can move certain ways on ice, and there's probably already grooves on the ice from somebody else skating on it, and my body has to shift certain ways. Like I get the physics of it.
Yeah.
A kid probably isn't like thinking about the physics of it. They're just like, oh, I'm gonna just go skate.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
But still, like that learning curve is always been interesting to me because it's really like the way you learn, I think, is based off of your past experiences.
Yeah.
So like the more experiences you have, I think the shorter your learning curve is. And I think that's why I am able to like learn things quickly is because I've done so many things.
Right.
And I feel like people who haven't done that many things, it takes them longer to learn because they haven't had enough experiences to be able to be like, oh, you probably shouldn't do that. You probably shouldn't do that.
Right.
You should do this.
Yeah.
And so now I've just like shortened the amount of time it's going to take me to do certain things. But
because of what I learned when I failed in experience 35 and how that also contributed to me learning experience 36, which contributed to 77 experience, which allows me to expedite this learning curve.
Exactly.
Wow, that makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's all about like, I feel like when you are trying to get better at things, you need to be just so analytical. Like you need to figure out like, how can I grasp a concept in the shortest amount of time to be efficient, but then also make sure that I'm getting like the knowledge that I really need to. Because sometimes, so my wife is this way. It kills me. She will try to learn everything before she begins.
Yeah.
I am not that way.
Just do it.
Yes. I am just do it and you will figure out what you shouldn't be doing. And she sees it as like, but you're going to waste time. I'm like, I don't feel it that way. I feel like I'm going to waste time by trying to learn everything and then starting. And then I'm going to be like, oh, I didn't need half that stuff.
Right.
But she's like, well, I'm going to waste time if I just jump in because I feel like I've wasted my time like trying to learn the stuff while I'm doing it because I've been messing up. Like I keep messing up, and that's a waste of time to her. But different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yeah, I understand both scenarios. I mean, of course, I think I prepare a lot for things, but I have a balance of also once I learn something, I get so excited about it, so I try to go apply it. And I think doing that gives me the failures and the space to mess up, which is the spark that I mentioned, which was needed for the growth. So yeah.
Is there a certain thing that you like about photography? Like, is it lighting? Is it just holding the camera, taking the picture, lining a person up, or animals? Or what is it that you like about it?
So it starts out eradicating all of those things, and we'll get pretty deep with this, but I think it started with just a desire to be accepted. And I'm not sure which book this came from, but I read a book about, I forget what the book was about or which book I'm referring to, but the story that I'm referring to is about the gold rush. I believe it happened in 1914. If I'm incorrect, please correct me. But of course, it's the gold rush, and everyone says, hey, I want gold, so let's move, let's sell our house, let's sell our shoes, and whatever we can, and let's pack up and go. Let's go dig for gold. So everyone went for gold, and some found it, some didn't. But there was a wise man that said, okay, all these people are searching for gold. How can I capitalize on this? let me put my thinking cap on. What do people do when they dig for gold? They have gear. They have to dig with a shovel. So let me create a shovel business and use this tool to fuel their desire to get gold, and I get rich in the process. Because even though they may try to find gold and they may not find it or may find it, they're still going to need a shovel to do that attempt.
Yeah.
So they're going to consistently come to me saying, "Hey, Ben, I need a shovel. Sell it to me." And I think I relate that to my process for photography and my own insecurities and um, seeing how I reacted to how beautiful people were on Instagram.
Mm.
And if I can highlight their excellence and their beauty and be the tool that they use to also highlight their own beauty, I think that maybe it can make myself more marketable as well.
Mm.
And this is just speculation. I'm not sure if this is set in stone. I haven't talked to a therapist about this, but I'm speculating that my desire for acceptance within this world, especially the social media age, was the spark and the driving force that allowed me to go more into photography. And in doing that, I received joy and appreciation from the people that were being made beautiful through my work.
Mm.
And I just continue to explore and create. And that I believe that joy and that benefit contributed to me wanting to improve and learn more about lighting, and also enjoying lighting and coloring and framing and composition in the same process. So if that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many aspects of photography that
Right.
it's just like music. Like a lot of people don't realize there's so many different facets of jobs that go
Yeah.
into like the music industry, and same thing for photography. Like, do you know who Michael Butler Jr. is?
I feel like I recognize the name.
He does photography,
Okay.
and like I had him on my
Yes.
podcast, and
Great work, by the way, Michael Butler
yeah, he does
Jr.
phenomenal work.
Yeah.
But gosh, what happened? Oh, he was talking about all the different jobs and like positions that like a film
Hmm.
might have. And I was like, oh, I didn't I didn't know about all these
It's
things.
dense.
Yeah, and you might just want to do, the one thing, but usually I think when you get like the more, I guess, professional that
Mhm.
you get, the more people are doing that one thing. So
Yeah.
you have a dedicated person for lighting and a
Yeah.
dedicated like camera person. Like
Right.
you've got all these people who like that's their job and that's what they always do.
Exactly.
So that's pretty interesting to even though I say I love doing so many things and
Mhm.
communicating with people who do many things, but there when you get to a certain level, like you gotta be that SME, you
Yeah,
gotta be
that
a subject matter expert on how to do this because
yeah.
that's what people want. If they
Yeah.
know you're that guy, that's what they're gonna hire is you for that position.
Yeah. I agree 100%, and I think that's been the direction for me as I move not only from photography, well, not only from, I didn't mean to say that, but as I move from photography into the film and TV space, um, and my desire to learn about videography um, was also based on my love for photography and how things look when they're lit on
Mm,
screen and the motion picture, and how it's like a series of photos in one. And I connected with this gentleman named Jason Thibodeau. He is a local director of photography in the city. Director of photography, that's a position in film, and it's mainly the camera guy, the guy that has the big camera with the cool setup, and he mans and captures the content that is captured. Um, so I connected with him, and I began to work with him and shadow him and volunteer with him, and that allowed me to get more access to the industry. And um, I found a way to, in addition to work on photography, expand my portfolio and expand myself within this space. So from there, I began to just work as a PA, which is a production assistant on set. They're typically the bottom of the barrel on sets, but they're very pivotal.
yeah.
They often get very little respect, but without them, the set doesn't run.
Mm,
They're the ones that make the runs and pick up the food, and of course they eat last, but they are very important with how things flow. So I started working as a PA, and then slowly learning through under Jason, I began to work as an AC, an assistant camera, which is
Okay.
the second man to the DP, the director of photography. And now I'm getting more into sound
Mm.
capturing sound. In
Yeah, yeah.
fact, just today, um, I worked on a documentary about Black midwives at Choices, which is a women's health and reproductive center in the city of Memphis. Um, and I began this entire oration based on me highlighting being specific with sound, just to give you some information. So um, it was about August of last year. I wanted to expand more, and I realized that the community of filmmakers in the city, although it's not as dense as other areas at
Mhm.
all, there are pockets within these categories on set that are more dense than others.
Mm.
Everyone wants to be the camera guy. Everyone wants to be an actor or director. But not a lot of people think about the gaffers or the grip team, which are essentially the team that build the set. They
Okay.
bring all the lights. They they build the infrastructure that the camera um, operates on, um, and the audio department that's very seldomly thought about. And specifically, black audio engineers in the city, it was pretty rare. So I
Mm.
decided, hey, I should learn it because it's rare, and and if they're willing to pay me, I'm willing to do it. So
You
last
became that shovel businessman.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly, precisely. I I peeped the analogy, man. That's pretty cool. But yeah, last year, about August, I began to shadow under this gentleman who also works under Jason Thibodeau, the director of photography that I started with, as a sound engineer slash gaffer, and he began to teach me all he knew, and I began to learn more and more, and now I'm beginning to find a space as an audio engineer, and I think I've worked more audio gigs this year on set than any other gig. So yeah.
Yeah, I think audio is something that's is completely underrated in
Yeah.
movies because like I've started to see these like TikToks
Yeah.
of people um they'll say like play this audio over like your last video or
Yeah.
play this audio with the last video you have of your dog or something
Right.
like that. And it's there to show people the difference that a song can do
Yeah.
to a moment.
Right.
Like a huge thing they'll do is like sports. They'll take I think it's like Titanic music
Mhm.
and add it to a very crazy moment in sports. So it's
Yeah.
like somebody hitting a buzzer beater shot
Yeah, very
or like
dramatic.
a Hail Mary pass and they'll play like Titanic music over it. And
Yeah.
it's always great because
Yeah.
that's what it is. It's dramatic music over something that crazy that happened.
Right.
And it's such a beautiful thing to have to sync that music up with the video
Yeah.
because it's like what can we do, like what sounds create a vision for people. And I guarantee
Yeah.
you if you took maybe somebody who used to have vision and then became blind or something like that, if you just played them certain audio, they would be able to maybe not literally like describe what they're looking at, but describe to you like something of what they might think is going on based
Yeah.
off the sound, the music that they're
Right.
hearing. So
Exactly.
that's something I'm really interested in.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I mean, even sometimes when I hear songs, I automatically envision myself in a movie,
Oh yeah,
and I
yeah,
probably even get into the part and
yeah,
act cool in a way to um, bring to life the music that's being played. So
yeah.
yeah,
Dude, have you seen Black Panther?
I have. Yep,
Dude,
yep.
how fantastic was that?
It
That's the
was
soundtrack, the music, everything.
amazing, amazing, and it really sparked my interest in sound.
Oh really?
That movie, in addition to others, I'm just seeing how the music moves individuals, and there's a sense of empowerment that comes from hearing audio and watching it, and how it allows you to connect more to the project that you're watching. So
Yeah, there's like certain I don't know if you play video games, but there's certain video games with like iconic
mm,
soundtracks. But mainly the Need for Speed
gotcha.
video games, some of the Grand Theft Autos,
Hmm.
um, like Def Jam for Vendetta, like
Yeah.
those old games. Like those games are known for their soundtracks, and
Mm,
it's because and you know some of the sports games like Madden, 2K,
hmm.
but they just immerse you into the like the culture of what you're playing.
Exactly.
And when you've got those certain, the certain music, the certain people on those soundtracks, it's like a memory. It's like
Yeah.
a comfort memory that you
Right.
have, because if you're just driving down the road and you've just got your Apple Music or Spotify playlist playing and you hear that song, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, that's that song from such, and just, I don't know, it excites you.
Yeah,
Like
it does.
you just get happy to think about a memory of you playing that game or
Yeah.
something. So it's pretty cool.
And it kind of puts you in that moment again. So
Yeah. So when you're doing audio, what specifically are you doing? Is it like vocals? Is it Foley? What is it?
with my particular experience, it's just capturing. So, for example, let's think of a narrative or a film, a short film or a movie. The audio that the actors and the words they speak and what they say, that's what I capture. And a lot of it is believe it or not, cutting out sound. So
Oh, okay.
if I come in here and I'm trying to prepare for production, and let's say I'm wanting to record this particular video, and we didn't have these mics, and I just wanted to capture with the boom mic that I have, and there would probably be a lavalier mic
Yeah.
that I would attach to the person, but I would listen for things that would distract and create white noise that I don't want, that would prevent the audience and the listener from hearing the voices clearly.
Like the hum of this
Exactly.
refrigerator.
Yeah. I was going to point to the refrigerator first, and then if there's a thumping of a bass of someone, of course I wouldn't be able to remove that unless I asked them to. But if I
Yeah.
could, I would ask them, "Hey, could you turn it down a little bit? We're capturing audio in here for a movie," and just stuff like that. Making sure that the audio that I'm capturing is clear and crisp,
Mm.
and that it doesn't detract from the editor's ability to control the audio and to control what the actors or whoever's speaking that I'm recording are saying and speaking, so that if I want to, I can just use that clear audio and maybe put a track of music over it or so on and so forth. So
Yeah, there was a certain movie I was watching, like behind the scenes type stuff, and they were filming in an area that was close to an airport, and so
yeah,
planes kept flying over,
yeah,
and I was like, "Oh, that's crazy! I didn't even think about that, because they literally have to stop filming
yeah.
just because this plane is going."
Exactly. And I don't have control over the plane, so
Yeah.
I can't stop it. So we have to stop.
Yeah, that could literally, like, where you're filming, the time of day you're filming. Like, I tried to book this podcast like usually at nighttime, because there's a train that goes by,
Yeah.
and I don't want the train to. But I'm telling you, like, I think this is the 8th podcast I've done here in this building.
Hmm.
That train's probably come by at least 6 times, and it might come by during this podcast. I
Wow.
don't know, but it's just random,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, oh man, like the sound that you can clearly hear it.
Yeah.
So if it comes through, it comes through. But yeah, it's just like the timing and the place that you're at. Like you have all these factors that you
Yeah.
have to think about,
Mhm.
even if you're doing a nature scene. I don't know if like movies or TV shows want to just pump that fake bird noises in there, or
Yeah.
or if they just want to film where they know there's going to be birds, so they're just like, yeah, if we catch the birds, we catch the birds,
Yeah.
and let it just be a part of the sound.
Well, they try their best to eradicate the sound as much as possible, and they want the control to find bird sounds elsewhere, or even go out and record it and add that individually. So
Is there like a way that you capture the noises specifically, or is it just like just having a mic and capturing like ambient noise?
yeah, well, there are different types of noise capturing items, but particularly the boom mic is consistently what it's been referred to in my experience. And it's just this pole that can be extended and has this XLR cable inside, and there's this very direct mic at the very end, and I can point into a certain direction and capture that audio. Now, of course, I'm sure based on your experience with light, um, sound and light are very similar. So, for example, if I move that light that's capturing us or lighting us closer to us, will be overexposed. So you'll probably have to reduce the brightness of the camera just to compensate for it. And they'll also allow the environment to be darker as well, because the light is closer to us, and we don't have to worry too much about um, the light spilling onto the background because it's as close to us as we need it to be. It's kind of like that with audio. So um, if I want to capture this water bottle and how the sloshing of the water creates this noise, if I have the mic right here, I can hear it pretty consistently, but I can also probably hear the cars as they drive by. But if I move the mic as close as I can to the water bottle, it's going to make the noise too loud. So I'm going to have to reduce the noise a little bit, and that still allows me to capture the audio proficiently with the water bottle, but I don't hear as much external noise. So I think just combining these tools and the particular boom mic that we use, and identifying how sound travels, and if I'm closer to something, I can hear it better. Thus, I can reduce the noise that I capture, and that cuts out the external noise from the environment. Just using those tools in general allows me to be more refined with how I capture audio. So,
What's your favorite part about it?
um, it really, there's a lot of, how do I describe it? You don't notice it until you're in a situation where you have to notice it.
Mm.
And we've most of us, we have our hearing. We've had it for all our lives. So there are things that just happen that we're it's normal to us. And being intentional with listening to things and being able to control how much volume you have, and you have a better ability to hear things. It just is really interesting to see how the world sounds, and to see how the leaves crunch as you walk on them, and hear the birds, and just all these other elements that you don't traditionally consider when you're just going throughout your day normally. So
Yeah, I've got a friend who he was like my first good friend that did photography and videography. And um, when I started like helping him with that kind of stuff, is what made me appreciate certain sounds,
yeah,
because you have to add those into videos. And one time we were doing something, I forgot what it was. He's like, "Did you hear that?" And I was like, "What?" And then he like pointed out. He's like, "That's a good sound." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" But from then on out, like I really thought about like what I'm hearing in movies
yeah,
and TV shows, but also just in natural life.
yeah,
Like just for everybody who can hear that, like this. Just certain sounds they can just sound so good. It's
yeah,
just so rich
yeah,
of a noise, as you're talking about, just like crunching of leaves, or when you hear, like you could crunch leaves and it could just make you think of fall. And so
yeah,
now you're thinking of fall, you're thinking of marshmallows, you're thinking of
yeah.
bonfires, you're thinking of camp, like all these things, and just from leaves crunching.
Right, right.
So it's such rich sounds. It's awesome.
Yeah, you can even extract negative emotions from individuals based on
Yeah.
the sounds too. So, for example, my mom, she had always gotten on to me because at one point, I chewed with my mouth open, and she
Hmm.
hated it. So, and for those that are listening, prepare to hear my mouth as I create this sound that it's pretty icky. And of course, I'm sure you're disgusted and you're like, "Ugh, Ben, why are you doing that?" But I'm showing you, hey, you can also use sound to create negative emotions that your viewers can use as they are learning and ingesting the story.
So that makes me think of ASMR.
Yeah, exactly.
And my wife, she's one of those people that just hates that. And like some people, just those like certain noises, like you were just talking about with your mouth moving, like
Hmm.
those are things that just negatively like just trigger people. They
Yeah.
hear a noise and they're like, "Oh, what is that?"
Yeah, exactly. Or
Um,
the scraping of a
oh,
chalkboard,
that's the
or
worst.
yeah.
That's the worst. If Since you are into this kind of stuff, I would suggest you go look at there's a video on YouTube. It's I think it's Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
It's the people
The
making the
sounds.
sounds for Mortal Kombat. The
The
coolest thing. Because like all the fight scenes and stuff like that, where
yeah.
they're like breaking bones and like organs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. It's so funny watching them do it. Like one of them, they're the guy's like eating a banana
Yeah.
and he's just eating it like all viciously, and that's the noises of like a body part. Or
Yeah.
they take like 3 or 4 celery sticks and break them at one time.
And
And
that's
that's
the
supposed,
bone.
yeah, that's bones breaking. I'm like, man, that's so cool.
There was one instance I saw of a sound engineer who worked for The Bachelor, and how he referred to the intimate scenes being one of the more tricky ones. Because of course you're not in there as they're being intimate, but you have to
Mm.
recreate the intimate scenes that the camera's capturing from afar, and he would just make these weird kissing sounds and we'd random things just to make the sound, and it was always funny.
Yeah, that's,
So
I mean, it's kind of a weird thing to have to, think about trying to recreate.
yeah.
And I mean, even like I was talking about, like the guy eating a banana,
Hmm.
like fruit noises. You don't really think about those things sounding like that until
Yeah.
like you see somebody doing it, and that's
Yeah.
where you're talking about like the senses. Like
Hmm.
you have to really use your senses to
Right.
figure out like what am I actually listening to.
Yeah.
Like people have been posting like random videos of just like a noise. It'd be like a blank screen,
Hmm.
but a noise. And then they'll be
Yeah.
like, "What do you think this noise is?" And then they'll show you the video of what you're actually listening to, and
Mm.
it'll throw you off
Yeah.
because we're so used to hearing sounds associated to certain things. We're
Hmm.
like, but and then also we're also so used to those who us who can hear and can see.
Right.
We're so used to seeing and hearing at the same time. So
Yeah.
when you can only do one, it kind of throws you off. You're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, what am I hearing? Or
Exactly.
what am I looking at right now? Because
Hmm.
I can't see, I can't hear the people talking. Like I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I,
So
I,
let me flip the switch.
go ahead.
So what do you do professionally, and how has your experience been from high school to now, finding your path, and what path do you desire to take as you progress?
So I've taken a many a roads. As I said, I've experienced plenty of things. But so when I graduated high school, I knew I wanted to go to college, but I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And then I ended up going to Jacksonville State University. I'm from Alabama.
Okay.
I
Cool.
just moved here in 2019.
Nice.
But I went to Jacksonville State University and I did business management. So when I graduated, I was like, I knew I wanted to run a business, but I didn't know what. And then I didn't, and I joined the Air Force.
Okay.
So in the Air Force, I ended up living in Minot, North Dakota for about 3.5 years or so.
Nice.
And then when I got out, I went and worked for a company that does like cell phone towers, like
Okay.
installing like 5G on.
Nice.
It was actually on like telephone poles.
Okay.
And then I got a call for a program that teaches people like PLCs.
Hmm.
So do you know what that is?
I don't. I was gonna ask.
It's programmable logic controllers.
Gotcha.
So it's usually used in manufacturing. So
Gotcha.
like if you ever see like a manufacturing line where things are just getting made, like chocolates
Gotcha.
or
Yeah.
honey buns, whatever it is,
Yeah.
though all those conveyors and everything are controlled by a
A
PLC. So basically, all it is just like your average, computer.
Yeah, and you
It's
can
just
automate it to certain controls and logistics. Nice.
exactly. So that's what I do. That's actually my day job. Is I
Nice.
work for Owens Corning, the shingle manufacturer.
Gotcha.
So I've done that, but while I was also in the Air Force, backtracking, I met a guy who does music. His name is Leak, and I started learning from him like how to make beats, how to
Hmm.
record vocals and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, this is what I want to do. I want to do this
Yeah.
too. So anyway, so now back to fast forwarding. I started learning how to do music and make beats and record vocals. And then, I was getting into rapping. And then one day I was with my wife and we were just talking about shooting a music video.
Okay.
And I knew a guy that did videos and he charged like $750 for a music video. And I was like, man, that's a good bit of money. And then she was like, why don't you just buy a camera and then you can just shoot all the videos you want. And I
Right.
was like, dang, you're right. So that's what I did. And then, I just started trying out videos and started trying out photography and stuff like that. And then the problem was somebody told me I was pretty good at it.
Ah, yeah.
That's where it started. And then, I just started to get better at it. And which it was a thing where like I knew I needed to be good to help myself, to
Right.
help my image and all that kind of stuff for the music business. And so that's when I started doing that. But I wasn't doing it like all the time.
Right.
I basically just did it when I needed to do it. So if I needed something to post online or if I needed a music video, that's when, I would just learn all these things so I could, be able to do that kind of stuff. Well, yeah, that's how I have grown into, the music and also photography and videography. And now I have the podcast.
Nice.
And when did I do? I think in 2020 is when I did my first audiobook.
Gotcha.
Somebody told me about a website called ACX, and ACX is a website where you can you basically just sign up and it's free. And ACX, I think, is owned by Audible, and
Gotcha.
Audible is owned by Amazon.
Right.
But ACX basically is a website where you get to search for like authors who have a book that they need an audiobook to be recorded. So basically you just search like, whatever book that you want to do. So if you're into mystery, you can just search mystery books. If you're into horror or if you're into nonfiction, you just search, those type of books. And the pretty cool thing is they have to give you a sample so that you can read and then send it to them.
Right.
Well, sometimes if it's a really short book, they'll send you the whole book. So now you got a bunch of free books that you can just read.
Right, nice.
But yeah, I did. So not my first, but the first book that I got hired for, I auditioned for a book, and they were like, "Hey, we don't want you for this book, but there's another book we want you for." And so I was like, "All right, cool."
Yeah.
I got turned down, but then
You got another gig, so great.
Well, that book ended up being about emotional intelligence, and it was a fantastic book to read.
I can only imagine.
I was really happy to read it, and I got that out, and then one of my good friends, he publishes books under, I think it's called like the Fifth Estate or something like that. But he does a lot of like religious books. And so he wanted me to read a book called The Negro Bible, The Slave Bible. And it was about the story behind it is basically, I guess, like the slave owners didn't want Black people to have, I guess, all the stories of confidence and success and overthrowing your ruler and faith and hope.
Yeah.
So they took those stories out of the Bible and they gave them the rest of it. That's the Negro Bible. So I read that book.
Okay.
It was really long. I think it was like, for me, it was long. I like reading books in the like 120 to probably less than 200 pages. But this book was probably like, I think it was like 500 and something pages. And I read it or recorded it. I had to read it, but I did it all in, I want to say like a month and a half.
Wow.
And it's so different than reading for pleasure.
Yeah.
When you're reading for a job, it's like, I got to knock this out.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have to knock it out in like a month and a half. Number one, I knew the guy, but number two, he actually had hired somebody to do the book, and they kind of like fell through. Like they weren't, I think he said they were taking like over a year.
Yeah.
And they still hadn't given him the book. And I was like, I can't let him down.
Yeah.
I've got to do this quick and do a good job. So I knocked it out in like a month and a half, and so I've done 2 audiobooks.
Wow.
Been doing photos and videos, and me and the guy downstairs, Ryan, we started this place, Damage Media Group.
Nice.
He does audio and I do audio, and I decided to bring my photography and videography to the table and decided to create a media company.
Nice.
So yeah, that's
wow.
my life from high school to now in a nutshell, pretty much.
That's pretty cool. I always have an appreciation for those with voices, particularly voices that are suitable enough that people want them to record their audiobook. How does one train and prepare for a project like that?
I would say just read out loud. So that was something I wasn't used to doing. Like when I read, I'm just reading in my head. So when I had to do the audiobook, I didn't I didn't realize how many mistakes I make when I read.
Yeah.
When I'm reading out loud and it's recording, I have to literally hear myself mess up.
Yeah.
So when I'm like going back and doing the editing, I was like, dear God, am I dumb? Like why did I mess up this many times?
Right.
But yeah, just read out loud and learn.
That's crazy.
And read those books that are 200, 300 pages long because you start to get bogged down with the fact that you are like so focused. Like reading is one thing. Like usually when I read, I'm like my brain energy just like either ramps up and I'm fully awake and I'm just immersed in this book, or I get really sleepy. It's one of the two. Like I'm either about to take a nap or I'm about to stay up for like another 3 hours.
Right.
It's one of the two. But yeah, like you just get kind of drained from just like being so focused on like not messing up.
Yeah.
Because the less you mess up, the less edits you have to do.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, when you're doing a video shoot, you don't want to mess up a shot.
Right.
So the less, mess ups you have, the less shots you have to take.
Right.
And that's the same way with reading. Like you just want to focus on every single word and you're so, into those pages and every single word and every letter that your brain is just like, on overload at that point. So yeah, it's kind of like running.
Nice.
If you're training for a marathon, you don't just do 1 mile every single day and think you can go run 13 miles or 26.2 over a long period of time.
Yeah.
You gotta, do a little bit more just to get your body used to doing something that's such long-winded. So I would say that would, and again, I'm giving you all this advice. I didn't do that at all.
Not really.
But that is my advice now that I've done those things. I'll be like, man, I wish I had done that before. Because as I said, I did the one book on emotional intelligence. And I think that book was around 200 pages, maybe less. And then I jumped to a 500-page book. I'd never read a 300-page book in my life. And then I had to read a 500-page book for money.
Yeah.
It was crazy, but I'm just such a determined type person. And I knew it was somebody who I knew and somebody I liked that I was like, I've got to do a good job and I've got to give it to him quick. It was crazy that I did it in a month and a half for myself. Other people like, dang, it took you a month and a half to read 500 pages. Yeah, so what? But yeah, it's something that you should definitely prepare for if you think that you can't handle, like some people just can't concentrate for that long. But I'm the type of person who can if I'm really interested in it. And I would definitely say that's something you should do. Just read out loud and read more than what you think you'll do. So if you only want to do like 100 pages or so books, then read 200-page books out loud. And that will definitely get you acclimated.
That's crazy because I do that already.
Oh, okay.
So there's a crippling fear that I have, and I've recognized it subconsciously, but of not being understood. And when I'm engaged in a conversation with someone and I can't explain myself, and that desire to improve my explanations, how that contributes to me stumbling on a word and just getting nervous in general, it just generates a fear that I dislike.
It's like an anxiety builds up in you.
Exactly. And I can't control it. And I tried to combat that by joining Toastmasters, and I did. So in December of last year, not last year, but the year before, I joined International Toastmasters. There's a
What
branch.
is
So Toastmasters is essentially an organization that's designed to improve public speaking. So there's
that's cool.
Each week there's a meeting that is held, and each individual is assigned a particular role, and the role is different each week. One week you may be one of the public speakers. The next you may be an evaluator.
Is this online or in person?
Yep, online, some in person, but since COVID, a lot of it transitioned to virtual meetings. And my experiences have all been virtual. And But yeah, many roles. I mean, one of my favorite roles was the toast. What was it? Table topics master, which is
Mhm.
and table topics within this meeting is the time and place where we practice impromptu speech, and
Okay.
someone creates a topic, and you have to speak for 2 minutes about it. But yeah, Toastmasters is an international organization that's designed to improving public speaking. So I started that, and I enjoyed it a lot. But then I got too busy, and I wanted to continue to improve my public speaking and not be stifled by a lack of time, and how that detracts from my ability to engage within this organization. So I began to just read books out loud, and this helped a lot. Not only with me understanding words and improving my pace when I speak, and ensuring that I focus on what I say and how I say it, as opposed to just trying to quickly get something out. And I still struggle with this. I'm sure many people may notice based on me speaking now, but um, it was really interesting, and I continue to do it and read out loud to this day. So, in fact, when I was up here as I was preparing for the interview, I began to read out loud just to, just to ensure that I was prepared and my vocal cords were warmed up. So, wow, I'm really inspired by the fact that your success was based on this process that I'm doing. So that makes me feel a little bit better about myself.
Yeah, and as I said, like just doing things prepares you for other things. So,
Yeah.
you being a PA, I'm sure you have to talk to people. I'm
Right.
sure you've got to communicate things,
Exactly.
projecting your voice. So again, I was in the military, and at one point I had to be a thing called a red rope,
Gotcha.
and so it was in after basic training, I
Mm-hmm.
had to go to Wichita Falls, Texas,
Gotcha.
and there is my tech school. So my tech school is where I learned my job. I was aircraft armament system, so I
Mm-hmm.
loaded bombs on the B-52.
Mm-hmm.
So um, I decided to become an airman leader, and it's basically like out of all the people that were in our squadron, like our group, basically they had certain people who were airman leaders, and they were like not in charge of, but like they were like the guidance of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I guess you could say in charge because like there were certain things that we had to do where we had to lead everybody.
Yeah.
So you had green ropes. There was a large amount of green ropes. I'd probably say usually like 12 or so.
Mm.
And then you had yellow ropes, and
Gotcha.
it was probably about half, maybe 6 or fewer. And then there was one red rope.
Okay.
Well, usually a red rope was there for probably like maybe 3 weeks or so, because in tech school, the shortest I think was like maybe 3 weeks, maybe a
Gotcha.
month.
And
And
what are the purposes of these ropes?
the purpose of the ropes is to help people have like somebody to look to. So
Gotcha.
everybody there in the in the Air Force, we had like E1 to E9 is like your
Gotcha.
rank, and I think we had like 4 E5s, which is like staff sergeants,
Mm-hmm.
and then I think we had just a E7 was the master sergeant. So the master sergeant's like the flight chief. So they're over everybody. They're in charge of that entire squadron.
Mm-hmm.
Well, when they aren't there, when all those people aren't there,
Mm-hmm.
they need to have some leaders within the squadron to make sure people just start doing dumb stuff and
Right.
to help people do what they need to do.
Yeah.
So the green ropes are like, the people who pretty much just got there and want to
Mm-hmm.
become an airman leader. And then the yellow ropes have been there for a little longer. And then the red rope is like the person who's probably been there the longest. And they are basically, you have a choice. If you want to be a green rope the whole time, you can.
Yeah.
Or if you want to be a yellow rope, you choose to rank up. It's
Right.
completely up to you. But anyway, so I was a red rope for a really long time because my
Nice.
tech school was longer than what most people do. It was like, I think it was like 4.5 months.
Okay.
So my flight chief actually, like one time he gave somebody the red rope, and he came up to me and he told me to come here. And he was after he had did it. And I was like, oh, this is weird. I don't know what he wants. But he was like, I really wanted to make you the red rope, but you're going to be here for way too long. And here's that train that I was talking about.
Yeah.
But
Oh yeah.
yeah, it gets loud. But he was like, yeah, I really want to make you the red rope, but I can't because you're going to be here for way too long.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, cool. So I think he waited like a couple weeks after that guy got the red rope, and then he left, and then I became the red rope.
Good.
Well, while I'm the red rope,
Mm-hmm.
I have to march the entire squadron.
Okay.
It's like 300 and something people.
Mm.
And I have to literally project my voice over like, I would say we had how many people? I want to say it's like 8 rows of people or more than that.
Wow.
So when I'm projecting my voice, I have to learn how to be loud and not sound like I'm angry.
Yeah.
It was new to me because like I don't yell. Like
Yeah.
I don't like being mad at people. I'm a very like calm person. It takes a lot to make me mad.
Mm-hmm.
So like yelling without just sounding like I'm pissed off was different. So that's when I had to really learn how to like project my voice and stuff like that. So when I'm doing the books and everything, I'm learning how to like control my voice and learning how to just, speak to people. Like speak in a manner of like in different ways.
Yeah.
So I've auditioned for a bunch of different books, and I've also auditioned for like voice acting, and it's fun. Like it's fun learning how to use your voice. And I would definitely suggest, what is it? I just found out about a website. It's called, I think it's Voices 123.
Okay.
And I don't know if you have to pay to like do it, but there's another website called voices.com. And I think you have to pay like $500. But with that payment, it's like a per year. With that payment, they send you, and you can also look for jobs in voice acting. And I mean, these are like, it could be some Joe Schmo who needs somebody to be a voice actor for a show they're doing or a cartoon they have.
Yeah.
Or it could be literally like NBC
Yeah.
needing a voice actor or something. It's a big range. But I think if you land a job, the least you can make is like $150. Like
Nice.
they don't allow people to pay you less than that. So I guess that's the positive part of paying that $500 just to get in.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely suggest to anybody to just practice that, because it practices your social skills of projecting your voice, talking in a manner that's number one, proper, because if you have to talk that certain way and like people have to hear you
Yeah.
and understand you, then you're going to have to, have good English or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, that's some of my best advice for that kind of
Nice.
stuff.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt.
I'll make sure that I'll go back and listen to the podcast and write those down, or even get it from you so I can get involved with that. So,
is there like, did you want to do voice acting in particular, or like reading books, or just like anything particular?
It wasn't anything particular. My main goal was just to improve my public speaking.
Okay.
But I mean, I feel as if, and I think that I speak pretty well.
Yeah.
And I feel as if with the right resources, I can be successful in it. And like you said, all the experiences that you have contribute to the next experience.
Yeah.
So I figure that maybe one day I may benefit from having gone and attempting to learn more about voice acting. So yeah.
Do you get out much? Like, do you go places?
Yeah, too much actually. And I think that as a photographer and being in the film industry and consistently having to capture individuals, whether it's with a still image or on video, I have to talk to people consistently. So
yeah, I think that's the key.
Yeah.
Like, I still get really nervous around people, but you can't really tell because I know how to compose myself.
Yeah.
And like, one thing I've noticed when I get nervous, it's like I can't talk loud. It's like, it's so strange because I know how to project my voice and everything. But when I'm nervous, you ever have a dream where you have to fight somebody, but your punches are like super slow and you
Yeah.
can't punch.
Right.
That's how my voice is when I get nervous. Like it's like I'm trying to talk loud, but I can't.
I know exactly what the feeling.
It's super strange.
Yeah.
Super strange.
Wow.
But I listened to a podcast, I think it was a Joe Rogan podcast, and he had on what's that band called? I don't think it's the Black Stripes. I think it's Black something. I don't know. But it's a very famous band.
Mm-hmm.
And the guy in the band said he has really high anxiety. And Joe was like, whoa, like you're so-and-so, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're famous and you're on stage all the time. How do you have anxiety? But he's like, yeah, I just have it. You know, it bothers me. But I think if all like artists and performers were honest, like we'd find out a lot of them have anxiety and they probably deal with it with either alcohol or drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they're able to just go out there and just do it.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because like you hope that they can find ways to deal with that without having to
rely on substances.
Yeah, substance abuse. It's unfortunate, but that's how some people, their brain is just overtaking their body and not allowing their body to do what they want to do.
Yeah. Wow. That's pretty interesting.
Do you ever feel like, you just can't function because you're so nervous about something?
I think it's seldomly that I can't function. Of course, I do experience social anxiety to a high degree in a lot of instances, but I think I go into this bin mode that I call it, where I know that there are some things that I can't change and some things that I can. So if I focus on things that I can change to the best of my ability, then eventually I'll reach a state of homeostasis that allows me to be less nervous. So even if I'm fearful or timid or afraid, I know that wallowing in that fear doesn't really do anything. So just continue to progress with what you can do, and you can find ways and use rhetoric and persuasiveness to take the attention off of you, and that can also reduce the amount of nervousness you have. And as you progress towards being less nervous, I think that's a nice distraction. So I think I just combine my ability to focus on what I can change, and also identify how people think and how attention is directed. I use all of those systems collectively to kind of negate it. So,
yeah, I think there's something in comfort that people don't take advantage of. I'm a huge advocate for just making sure people feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure that when that person meets me or they come into a room, like in a podcast or something like that, that they don't feel like, they have to act a certain way or do or say certain things. That's why I like my podcast with I tell people you can say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because I want them to not feel like they're walking on eggshells the whole podcast. And also just like when people don't feel comfortable, they aren't themselves.
Right.
Because they overthink everything. They don't move the way they want to move.
Right.
And at the end of the event, they're like, I should have said this. Or, I should have said that. Because they weren't thinking straight the whole time.
Right.
So they end up not being who they truly are. So that's why my first thing is, let me make sure this person feels comfortable. That's why I got a good sturdy table.
Yeah, nice and sturdy. It's fun to play with.
Yeah, dude, my last table was like a glass table I got off Wayfair. And I did my podcast at my house. So I had a pitcher of water. It was like a Brita filter water container. And I had glasses for everybody. Well, everybody would take that glass, they take a sip of water, and then they go and place the glass because they didn't want to shatter
Damage it,
yeah. And I was like, I've got to get a new table because people don't feel comfortable putting the glass down.
Yeah.
For that one reason. That made me like really want a good sturdy table.
Yeah.
And it's those little attentions to detail that people need to have in their everyday life to just make them better at things.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Deion Sanders.
Yep.
He had a saying that people always remember is you look good, you feel good, you play good.
Right.
And that's just the epitome of how, I like to do things. Like I want to make sure that, if if I feel good, then I'm going to be able to perform my best.
Right.
If I don't feel good, if I feel like I ate something, my stomach just feels horrible, or if I have a headache, or if I'm hungry, if I gotta pee, like I'm not going to feel the way I need to feel, and I'm not going to perform the way I need to perform. So
Exactly.
that's why I always comfort first, and then I'm going to be able to do the things I need to do.
Yeah. Makes sense.
It does. I mean, when you're able to do those kind of things, it definitely helps you. I guess just do more, because if you aren't comfortable, then you're not gonna. Why should I continue to do different things? So if you were being a PA and people just made you feel bad, like they made you feel dumb, like you didn't know what you were doing,
Yeah.
you would probably never want to be a DP.
Exactly.
That's how I feel for anybody who is in a certain career field or whatever. Like just be comfortable, and if you feel like you're in a position where you aren't comfortable, whether it's your job or whatever, like find a way to be comfortable so that you can progress, and that you can learn more to do better. So
I'm automatically contemplative of a psychology idea or theory. I believe by a psychologist by the name of Maslow. And I believe it's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it talks about how your ability
bring the mic a little closer.
Yeah. It talks about how I can't even remember the unique components of this hierarchy, but there's this pyramid, and at the very base portion of the pyramid, there's basic needs like food and water and shelter, and the things that allow you to feel comfortable enough to have the comfort to begin to experience love and appreciation with people in the environment. And then once you have that love and appreciation, you're able to use that to do some self-development and go forward in any venture and endeavor in life. And then those endeavors allow you to then mentor to others and build upon others. And I would never be able to reach these upper levels where I'm able to enjoy the spaces I'm in and connect with others without being comfortable enough to have food and water and shelter and security. So I agree 100%, and I think of that. So
yeah, I mean, just look at societies, ancient societies to societies now. If you just look at the richest cities, you'd be like, oh, I bet they got food.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, oh, they got tall buildings.
right,
Bet they're not hungry.
yeah,
So, once you knock out those things, you got food and you got water, you got nice place to sleep. I bet those people are going to have nice things.
Yeah.
Like if I had on Matt Qualls the other night, and we were talking about him living in San Francisco. Like, I bet San Francisco has nice things because it's expensive.
yeah, exactly.
And he was just talking about how expensive it is. I was like, man, that's crazy. But like, you've got to, if you live in a place that things are expensive, you're going to want to have something worth your money.
Right.
And if you aren't in a place where like, the stuff is nice, if like, people who live in the ghetto, they live in a bad neighborhood, they probably aren't happy all the time. They're probably depressed.
Right.
And that's why. It's because their environment isn't allowing them to be happy, to experience life, to have nice things. Like, you're not going to find a Whole Foods or a Publix in a bad neighborhood.
Right. No.
Like, nobody's skipping around drinking their kombucha doing that. So it's something to be said about having, that sense of comfort, the sense of having my needs met so that I can progress as a person in general.
I see.
But yeah.
So in what instances have you lacked comfort, and do you recall any situations that were detrimental because of this lack of comfort?
I would definitely say like experiences in the military. It's actually really funny because I eat a lot. Like I eat not like a lot at one time. I don't eat a lot at one time, but I like to eat often. So
Gotcha.
like I'm constantly hungry.
Yeah.
Well, in the military, you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner. That's it. So there's one time, I think we usually ate at like 5:30, 6 p.m. And, and we didn't stop doing stuff until like 9.
Mm.
So it was like 8 or 9 one time, and I was starving,
Mm.
and it hit me. I'm like, "Oh my god, I can't eat again till breakfast." And so, I was upset.
Mm.
I didn't feel like I was gonna be okay, and I was like, "This is crazy.
Yeah.
I'm just hungry.
Right.
That's it. Like nobody hurt me. Nobody, hurt my family members.
Mhm.
Nobody stole my money. I just can't eat."
Yeah.
And it completely threw me off. I didn't know what to
Yeah.
do, but I just had to like realize like, hey, everybody else is going through the same thing.
Yeah.
You're not special. You're not the only one that's
Mhm.
hungry.
Right.
So it's that was a one instance where I just had to really like realize the situation I'm in and be like, hey, you're just hungry. Like
Yeah.
you'll get food. It's just going to be a little while.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I bet it is aggravating when you're in the system that kind of takes away your control and you can't eat freely. But like you said, you focus on things that you could change, and the things that you couldn't, you just let it go.
yeah.
I think that was inspiring, and I relate a lot to that. Nice.
Is there something that you haven't done that you really want to do that's completely out of the normal? Like like the basketball thing. Like
Yeah.
it's just something different.
That's a good question. Some things that I haven't done that I want to do. I, of course, travel. I know that I've
Where do you
spent.
want to go?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I feel as if I experience more of the world, I have a better perspective to know what I want to experience.
Mm.
um,
That's a tricky, right? You got to
yeah,
go places to go
yeah,
places.
yeah. And to have an awareness of what I do and don't want,
Yeah.
and just like the very thing you said earlier about how your experiences add to the others. Um, and I've been so fixated on self development and going to school and now going forth with my career that it's tremendously difficult to have a life filled with traveling unless your field requires it,
Mm.
while still attaining the same progression that I seek. So I'm currently trying to find the right balance between work and play so that I can enjoy work and live in comfort while also traveling and doing things like that. So, um, my desire to travel more hasn't really existed until I connected and I got with my girlfriend, and she loves to travel and
Mm.
she hates to be in one place at a set period of time for a set period of time. And she also talks about how beautiful the world is and how beautiful people are. Um, and I love people. So I figured that if I can do things like travel where I can find new places and enjoy beauty, and being a photographer, I love how the world looks. I can also be around people, and I love people. And I'm also going to want to eat, and I
Yeah,
love
yeah.
food as well. So all these things collectively will probably make great experiences. So I think once I begin to travel, or I would say, yeah, I would want to travel more and experience more of the world that I don't traditionally see. So,
One thing I would definitely encourage is like I know you love taking photos and photos is great, and I know you're getting into videography. That is the one thing I would do is document as much as
mm,
possible. Like I know sometimes um people we just forget to actually document our experiences.
right.
And in the world nowadays of social media, everybody thinks of documenting as, oh, you're just taking that photo or you're just taking that video so you can post it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just need to take photos and videos for yourself.
Yeah. To capture those memories that
Yeah.
you can't have otherwise.
Yeah. Like the invention of the computer and the photo and the camera has made it to where our brains can, relax.
Yeah.
We don't have to hold those memories up here and, we only have so much memory we can access.
Yeah.
But if we are able to just, take photos, take videos as much as you can when you travel and stuff, because I know, well, like, let's see, I was in 8th grade and I went to Ecuador
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't take a freaking camera. I was so mad, like
Mm.
afterward, like when I got older, because I realized I was like, oh my God. Like I saw all these, like I remember them. Like I remember all the images in my head. It's some of the most beautiful things I've ever seen in my life. But I'm just
Mm.
like, I wish I had a photo to
Yeah.
just go back. And like, even if it was a freaking like, what do you call those photos where you like would scroll to like, is it a film, like a film
I
camera?
believe so. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, like no, they were like disposable,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yeah,
with the rolls in them. Yeah, yeah.
those cameras were so I guess just convenient.
Yeah.
And I definitely could have took one of those to
Mhm.
just take photos while I was there, but that's something I definitely suggest to people when they go travel because number one, me and my wife, we like to travel a lot, and when we go places, we'll like eat at a great restaurant or something like that, and then we'll completely forget that where we were. Like we'll talk about something like, yeah, remember that time we did this and did that. We're
Yeah.
like, where were we?
Yeah.
We didn't even remember where we were because when you do those things, everything just kind of jumbles together, and
Yeah.
memory is only so good.
Right,
So
right. And I think that's one reason photography is an art that will never die. Not only because it's great for marketing and sharing the world that we have and spreading an awareness and creating a different perspective for those that don't see what we see. But it also allows us to just capture the euphorias of today and store them for redistribution in the future. And I think those memories, kind of like when we talked about sounds of like sounds in movies and games and soundtracks. I mean, those memories can do great things for our subconscious, and I think that the difference between having those memories and not is a picture, and it's a simple thing to capture a picture, so might as well.
absolutely,
Yeah.
like when you're able to capture those moments, and we were talking about like sounds triggering memories, like just seeing a moment in front of your face,
Hmm.
like can just make you feel great. Like sometimes when you just are scrolling through your phone, you're looking for something specific, but you'll stop. You're like, oh man, I
Yeah.
remember that. That was nice, or
Right.
things like that. The technology that we have
Hmm.
today just makes life a little sweeter
Hmm.
because that we can revisit those moments and stuff like
Yeah.
that. I can't wait for time travel.
All right.
If we can have time travel, I'll be extremely excited. But
I'd come back to this moment right here.
just being able to, realize like, hey, this thing happened, and that I think what like if we were able to have time travel,
Hmm.
I think we wouldn't appreciate moments as much just
Hmm.
because we know we could revisit it.
Yeah.
But like now that since we don't have it, it's we have to take care of the moments that we have with people and with friends and family, because it's you've got that moment and that's it.
Yeah.
You don't have anything else.
Right.
So that's why I always suggest people like, take photos, take videos,
Hmm.
document as much as you can,
Right.
because when you're older and you want to think about those memories again, you got them.
Yeah.
You all you gotta do is
Exactly.
just save them.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree 100%.
So what is some stuff that you are working on or plan on working on?
So I'm working a lot with Princeton James Productions, the production company that I started working with once I began to go more into entrepreneurship, and it's been a miracle for me just to be in the space. And a few projects I worked on this year. I told you about a documentary. There's this producer named April Martin, and she's a film student getting her doctorate. I forget what institution, but she's capturing this documentary and following the life of a black midwife, and also a family who's preparing, or actually just had their third child, and it was a home birth, and also just going into the lives of people that experience the disparities that come from reproductive health, and how sometimes in certain communities, specifically those that are black, um, there are systems that don't really put us at the forefront.
Yeah.
In hospitals in general, a lot of times it's indicated that the patient isn't at the forefront and they're not cared for, but it's about efficiency and the comfort of the physician.
Mm.
And birth is a very fragile time, and there's a lot that comes with it. And um, it's been really inspiring to identify how these healthcare professionals, as they prepare to bring life into the world, how they approach the best way to care for the mother, the father, and the family, and just the services that they're able to receive. So that's a project that I've worked on, capturing audio for. Got the gig through Jason Thibodeau, the gentleman that the DP that I referenced earlier, and it's been really inspiring. Um, I'm also preparing to produce a stage play.
Oh, nice.
Princess James Production. He has this soulful mystery experience. It's this cool venue and this event that allows you to come and you can listen to live music and listen and watch a stage play. Very humorous, very much improv heavy, and you never know what to expect. There's great food, there's drinks. Um, and that's been really fun being in an artistic space, especially when I consider myself not artistic in some senses and not an actor or one that can perform on stage, but still being able to contribute to a project that allows people to receive joy and healing and laughter and just joy in general from performing on stage. It's been really inspiring. Um, and some more projects. Doing a lot of photography work, um, and I think that the art of photography has taken me in places that I would have never expected in the past 3 years. Whether it's being, in fact, just this past week, I was on set for a Popeyes commercial with John Morant, and
Oh, wow.
I got to see him twiddling some chicken fingers in his hand and dunking it in the sauce packet, and even shadowing a photographer that shot him, and even hearing about his experiences with sitting and talking with Beyonce and many other popular individuals.
Dope.
Even being able to travel to Asheville, North Carolina, to the Biltmore Estates, which is the
Mm.
largest estate in the states in the USA, and the beauty that comes from it, and even being on set with Moneybagg Yo and Big Boogie and taking pictures of Big Boogie and all these great artists and being around so many great people. It's been really cool. It's been really cool, and I think the goal, well, I don't think I know the goal of Prince and James Production and some of the underlying organizations through the company is to build this creative economy in the city of Memphis. A lot of times when projects, particularly film projects, are being constructed in the city of Memphis, they always outsource. They bring people from Atlanta or New York or California or Texas or any other area that has a heavy film community, and a lot of dollars that are spent on these projects that tell the stories of Memphians, the dollars aren't spent locally; they're used
Mm.
elsewhere. So a lot of the work that we're doing now is creating this economy by having training to give people the ability to get their springboard into the industry. And
Yeah.
I think my success has been because I was able to find resources and skills through the people that I was mentored by. And he's Princeton James, Princeton Eccles. He's the CEO of the company, and he's been intentional with providing these resources for people to the degree that last year the casting director and um, the another director for Tyler Perry Studios came down, and they were able to watch a few actors and vocal performers perform, and that even allowed one of them to receive a role on one of the films that Tyler
Oh,
Perry has
wow.
produced. And even now, there are several acting classes that are being prepared for kids acting classes, so that kids have an ability to get into the industry and learn about how to act and perform and orate and all these other things that even if they don't want to go into film and TV can be used, and these experiences can be used to embed themselves in the career that they decide to go in.
Yeah.
And even not even just kids, but there are PA classes coming up and director of photography classes and sound and so much more. So it's been really inspiring. Um, Working with a company, like I said, from stage plays to capturing pictures and being on set with cool artists and just going and traveling to places that I wouldn't have been otherwise. So
All right. Well, let's try and wrap this up. Give everybody like all your info so they can reach out to you.
gotcha.
Actually, hold on. One more question.
Of course.
Do you do mainly like people, like photography for
Yep, yeah,
like portraits and
mainly
stuff like that?
portraiture.
Okay.
I've done a little real estate, and I've gotten more into product photography. There's this hair brand that I've taken pictures for. This evening, I may go to a friend's house and capture some pictures of candles that she's preparing to sell. Um, But yeah, mainly portraiture. I love
Okay.
it. And you can find most of my portraiture at my website, www.benbrownphotography.com. You can also find my Instagram with that same title, Ben Brown _photography. And of course, if you're looking for Facebook, just Ben S. Brown Jr. But yeah, and I can't remember my LinkedIn handle, but
Who does?
yeah, no.
Unless you're always on LinkedIn. But,
Exactly. Yeah. But I'm in the city of Memphis, so if you need me, just let me know.
Awesome. Yeah, I wanted to ask that so that, when you start giving out the stuff, people know like what you do. Because
Yeah.
as I was saying, you want to focus in on what, so if people need, product photography.
Yeah.
If you only did portraits, you probably could do a good job. But,
Yeah.
some people just don't like doing certain things. So
Yeah.
they are really like, if you're reaching out to them, they're like, I don't really do that. So,
Yeah, exactly. Of course. Thank you for that.
yeah, no doubt. All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and it was great sharing experiences and knowledge with you for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I appreciate learning with you, and I look forward to seeing you and I both progress, and also the audience. Hopefully, you guys learn vicariously through this great gentleman here. So,
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you for everybody for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
all right. Peace.